You'll find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners as well in North Syracuse in their drive-through location and on 343 Fayette Street. This is our Tortora and Alford special inside of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora with Isaac Alford, myself, Dan Tortora. We're here with you to talk about Syracuse at Wake Forest as well as the entire ACC, and we're going to get into college football and the rankings as a whole. So a lot of great stuff coming up here. Mr. Alford, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How you doing, man?
Doing very well. Now, I know you've worn this hat a lot, but we haven't talked about the boss vibes only.
Yeah.
Strictly boss vibes only.
Strictly boss vibes only.
Tell me why this is this your favorite hat? It's the one I see the most.
Yeah, this is my favorite hat at the moment. Yeah, I have a couple of other ones that I've kind of retired. Just put it that way, you know. Retired for, I don't know, maybe the hair just growing too much. I can't put them on. Realistic retirements, but you know, but nah, yeah, this is the one I tend to. If it's not this one, it's the 23 Legend with the Jordan.
Yeah, because Jordan and people, you can ask me all you want. You can ask Isaac, but there is a right and wrong answer to who is the best between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Mm-hmm. There is a right and wrong answer, and if you say LeBron James, well, then you're not on the show no more. Yeah. So what you're gonna help me pick this? So off the air, I got a spin rack here of hats. These aren't all my hats.
What's that one right there with the little sun? The little,
this one?
Yeah, what's that?
That's my diamond.
Okay.
So there's that one.
That's mixed with the flag in there.
Yeah, Toronto Huskies. Yeah.
We
got my old Charlotte Hornets, my Magic, with those hats that used to do the whole logo. We got some Jaguars. Got some Cornell. I won't wear my Colgate stuff because people start twitching. And
hey, everybody likes some winter. Why not?
That's true. But probably a bunch of fans that are Colgate fans now. And we got my Flash hat.
I like that.
That's a leather one.
I like that.
Do that one too?
Yeah.
Right. We're gonna
bring out the little Eddie Murphy.
We're gonna mix DC, or we're gonna mix Marvel with DC.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Look at that.
I like that.
There you go. All right, so
nice.
I got the Flash hat.
Official. You're official now.
It's all leather. I got a black leather reverse Flash one too. I got some nice Flash hats. Looking good. And we got the Venom here today. So we are inside the Cafe Kubal Studios hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Like I said, we're going to talk about a bunch of different pieces of college football today, from Syracuse to the ACC to greater college football. You are here with us on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. And, of course, during the week, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, you're also with us where sports meets life on mixlr.com /WakeUpCallDT, WakeUpCallDT.com, the homepage, and Facebook.com /LiveNowDT. So however you're connected with the show, thanks for hanging out with us where sports meets that thing called life. Mr. Alford, you and I have, we've seen a lot over these past few weeks, and it always seems like in the beginning it's the cautionary tale of, like, appreciate the opportunities you have, and we talk about it going up to the Dome for the first game of the season, second game of the season, and then I'm like, hey, man, before you know it, it's going to be the last home game.
Right.
And now there are no more Syracuse football games in Syracuse, New York. How weird is that?
Yeah, man, the season goes by too fast. I mean, it just feels like fall camp was just a few weeks ago, and you just getting hyped and ready for the season. And, you know, just that moment, and then, you know, you get the community is biting at the bit. It's ready to see what this team looks like, this year's version of the team. You know, everybody, you know, I always enjoy those fan appreciation days. You know, I like to go and sit and soak in the atmosphere, the crowd, you know, the fans and the reaction with the players. But like you say, man, this season goes by so fast. But sometimes what makes it even better, though, now with this season, they're bowl eligible, so we get a couple more weeks to follow them and let them practice, and maybe whatever they're going to play their bowl game, you know, that's just like an extra cherry on top that helps you. Because normally when you don't make a bowl, the season ends, and then there's a few other teams that's still out there playing, and it's just like, you're like, oh, okay, we got to go through winter workouts, spring ball. You know, it just seems like when you go to the bowl, spring ball comes by a lot quicker. You know, for some reason, it's just that strange feeling. But yeah, man, the season went by fast, and we've seen it. Like you said, we've seen a lot. 6-0.
Yeah.
And
0-4.
Yeah, 0-4.
Have not won a game in the second half of the season yet.
Yeah, and not and you know what? Hey, we've seen this. Maybe not 6-0, but we've seen 4-1, and that's it. We've seen 5-2, and that's it. So it was a little bit of a blessing to go ahead and get that 6 win. I know the team got higher goals than that. They're not settling for this losing streak either. But coming into the season again, how many people had Syracuse picked to win 6 games?
Right.
So that sometimes you have to sit back and take it for what it is. And I know as fans and you watch the games and you get upset with what's going on the field, but sometimes you just got to be realistic. I kind of thought about this too after the game last week when you said your prediction, and then you said something to me afterwards. You're like, there's fanatics, and then there's fans.
Yeah, there's a difference.
And then you was talking about your prediction going into the game, and I think I had my fanatic mode going on at that time when you were saying that prediction, but it wasn't off. You were like 55-13.
Yeah.
And I was like, really, Dan? I was like, nah. But I'm the person that goes in the game like, nah, but you're being realistic. I mean, come on. It's a great Florida State team.
Yeah.
And then when the game's over, I think we kind of role reversal. It's more I became my fan and you became the fanatic. Like, they should have did. And I'm thinking, but you predicted this.
I know.
I was like, you predicted.
Yeah.
And I'm like stepping back thinking to myself, I guess he was right. Yeah, I mean, if we're not at full strength and full health, we know what this team is.
Yeah.
When you don't have everybody healthy and struggling. And Florida State's been a group that's been together for 2 or 3 years with Mike Norvell. They've on the rise. They're on the rise. So
yeah,
it was just that moment. It was like me saying, like, oh, man, I guess I don't want to go overreact to it. You know what I'm saying? What you said in the beginning is what it was,
I didn't want to be right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I'm going into the game. I'm like, nah, we're going to find a way to pull it out. We're going to do something magical tonight. It wasn't to be, man. It just wasn't to be. So
yeah, I mean, leave the magic to the kingdom down in Florida where they got the fireworks going on. Ain't no fireworks in Syracuse going on.
I was hoping Florida State brought some of that dust with them up to Central New York, but
Florida State didn't bring nothing with them.
But I cannot,
they brought that. Florida State brought like a leaking gas tank and then set it on fire when they left. Is what they did. But I mean, reality. But that's the thing, and I had them losing by 35, they lost.
Right.
I had them losing by 42, they lost by 35.
Right.
So it was a one, and so people go, oh my God, that's too much, Dan. That's 6 touchdowns. They lost by 5 touchdowns.
Right.
So and Florida State, granted, was not getting after it at the end of the game.
Yeah, they took their foot off the pedal. Yeah,
so
definitely.
I mean, they definitely could have won it by 6 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was hard. It was hard to see it, and Chris Heidel, shout out to him, and I've been on his show, he's been on mine. He came from Baltimore, Maryland. He's a big Florida State fan.
Mm-hmm.
First time he's ever been at the Dome, and I looked at him and I was just like, bad time to come to the Dome, bro. I mean, good for you.
Yeah.
But the experience was different.
Right.
And can we talk about, I mean, because to me, you and I talked about this, and I know fans flip out and they get upset.
I think this is your fanatic getting ready to come out.
Go
ahead and say it. I think I know where you go.
No, because the fanatic is the guy that hates his wife and comes to the game and screams at her.
Yeah.
Basically, 99%. Basically, every third person on Facebook is a fanatic, where they're just on there going, and just writing stupid, dumb. Like, I'm gonna say this, and I mean this with a hope for the future and with much love.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of dumb people in America. Like, it is uncanny. There are a lot of sheep. There are not a lot of shepherds. And, that's reality. But, and it's just weird, man. But, everybody's a media member. But, Chappelle said it his way. But it's like, everybody wants to be a media person, but ain't nobody want to be a media person.
Right.
So, it's the reality of that. But, no, I mean, at the end of the game, I had an issue with something that I've never seen a coach do at Syracuse, and or that I paid close enough attention at the end of the game. I've never seen a coach do this. You're down, you're losing 38-3. Your team's on the 1 yard line. You're about to score. It's the best your offense has looked all game. I don't care what string they're playing against.
Right.
LaQuinn Allen, he's on the 1 yard line, and there's 14 seconds left, and you got a couple timeouts, and the team's kind of like trying to figure it out. And then they run to the line, and they're kind of like the linemen are looking at each other, and everybody's rushing, trying to get the play off.
Right.
And it didn't look like Dino called a play. It didn't look like Dino cared. Dino might as well have just been looking at a butterfly.
Right.
But he's just standing there on the sidelines, watching the time tick, 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 and I'm thinking, this man called the timeout after a timeout in Florida State last year. He called the timeout like, wait a minute. And I'm like, when you call a timeout after you call a timeout, what that makes it look like is that you didn't know what you were doing.
Right.
Because why are you calling a timeout? And they can't be like, well, Dan, because he saw something. He called a timeout before they got back on the field.
Right.
So it's not like he saw a formation. He called a timeout and then called another timeout like he didn't use the timeout properly. And this time around, he's got a couple timeouts. Your team's on the 1 yard line. Other Syracuse teams of old would have just quit. They would have stood there. They would have let the time run out. Here's this team frantically running, trying to get a playoff, and here's their coach, and I liken it to a ship. I liken this to the Titanic, and it smacks into the iceberg, and all these people are frantically trying to get on rafts and help people out, and the captain's like, why don't we all just die? And Dino's standing there. He doesn't call a timeout. Time runs out on the guys as they're trying to hike the ball to score. And the way I felt about that was, I thought you're a military guy. I thought the military doesn't give up. I thought that you're the coach. You saw your team fighting for you. You didn't fight for them. They want to get a playoff. You don't call a timeout. You don't let them set up. I didn't ask him the question directly. Previous to the question I asked, he said something like, well, we should have tried to score sooner. And that's all well and good, but that's also on you, bro. And at the end of the day, your team had 14 seconds. They were trying to call a play. They were trying to get to the line of scrimmage, and you left them out there to die. And him standing there looking at his team just really pissed me off.
Yeah. No, I definitely felt the energy when you said it. And now let's say this. Okay, so let's say it reversed, though. What if they did try and didn't get in?
Well, then at least they tried. 14 seconds. Because I thought about that.
Yeah.
But, 14 seconds, I mean, to me...
Do you think the place would have erupted in boos if they still didn't get in?
And my thing is, 14 seconds, they could have called two plays.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the fact that this man decided to not call a single timeout just really, it frustrated me because I've defended Dino, I have a good relationship with Dino, but I told you, I said... Besides what anybody said, booed, and left the game, because I'm not for leaving a game.
Right.
No matter what anybody said throughout the whole game, my words to you at the end of the game when I stood up was, I don't care about anything else. These last 14 seconds really pissed me off, and I don't think there's anything he can say that's going to make me feel better.
Right.
Because it looked like his team was trying to help him, and he was like,
right.
F it, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good point. Well, now let me ask you this, too. What if the fans would have stuck around and you would have had the fans cheering? You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you don't leave the game. The places by this time is emptied out. But let's say the fans were those loyal
about 5,000 people there.
Yeah. What if they were there? Now, to me, that would have been a lot worse if you had, like, Die Hard still hanging over the rails, wanted us to score, and he did that attitude like,
oh yeah,
nah,
he just stood there.
But yeah.
And honestly, when he didn't get a playoff and he let the time run out, the fans that were there booed him.
Yeah, they did.
The 5,000 people booed him. Now, if everybody had stayed, 27,000, 30,000 people would have booed him. The majority. And I was wondering if Florida State was going to be loud. On the first play of the game, first drive for Florida State, their fans, and I told you, I said, they must have strategically bought every section. Because they were dispersed.
Oh, yeah.
And when Florida State did something, it erupted in the way that it sounded, because it was almost like sleeper cells were in every part of the dome. It sounded like they were the collective voice, because they were literally sitting all over instead of sitting smushed in the corner like Boston College or Pittsburgh does. And so that was smart. And I also said to you, I wonder if they were going to do their chant. And at the end, they did. And the fans that were there were the loud. It's funny, 5,000 people sounded louder than 30,000.
Right.
And they booed while the chant was going on. And it made this collective one sound, which is insane. It was like, oh, woo, and it just made like this long nothing. And
Right.
I shouldn't say a long nothing, but it was like this long. It sounded angry. I think the boo ate the tomahawk chalk. I do think they got him there.
they got a little through there.
You know,
they got it there.
But at the end of it all, they booed Dino, and I looked at you and I said, this is not one I'm going to defend. I'm not going to say, no, you shouldn't have done that.
Right.
Because, I mean, I'll never forget the offensive lineman looking at the sideline and then running back and the time running out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to forget that.
Yeah, I think at that moment, everything was already exhausted out of me. That's why I say I think the more the fan, not the fanatic. By that point of the game, I also exhausted at the game. And, yeah, it was mop-up time. And, yeah, but once they had that, what was it, 3 points?
3 points.
But
you're on the 1 yard line.
Yeah, I got you.
And you got 2 timeouts. And he has blown timeouts over dumb stuff.
Oh yeah. No,
you know what I mean?
But I was saying if it was like a badge of honor where you could see it still was a badge of honor for Florida State to keep us out of the end zone.
But it's something that I could see the team saying, hey, we lost the game, but we ended on a high note. Let's build off of it.
Right.
That, to me, what the team did this time around, the players, not the coaches.
Right.
The players, to me, in this game, showed me we have fight until the end, even when we're losing, which I haven't seen in Syracuse teams of old.
Right.
So I want this. I'm going to get after it. Let's end on a high note. Let's end on a positive. I saw more maturity and responsibility and a sense of let's be together still. And I loved seeing that because other Syracuse teams would have just stood there. And what did I tell you before the game started? This score is going to look like when Syracuse joined the ACC.
Right. Yeah.
And when Syracuse joined the ACC and they went down and played, they lost 59-3. And here it is 38-3. And Florida State had put in their backups.
Right.
You know, they get backup quarterback and all that. So.
Well, you got to give Florida State credit, man. They, besides that 1 year where Francois, that year when the offensive line was terrible.
That's why I don't buy in the hype, man.
You know, you got to give them credit. They've recouped. You know, they brought their talent pool back up to a different level. You know, I mean, but like you said, you've seen the seasons where teams just quit on you.
Yeah.
Bobby Petrino Louisville team I could think of being in the dome the year we were 10-3 when we just drug them all over the field because I think they was like 2 and whatever when they came to the dome. But I do give credit to those guys for fighting to the end, and it's kind of like it's nice to see some of the backups get in there and try to perform, and you see them performing, and you're like, okay, well if they're doing this now, where are they at in the other parts of the game? You know, we could definitely use some of these combinations of different players out on the field. You know. Speaking of players on the field, Enrique, he came in and stepped up pretty good, you know, playing right tackle and stuff. So definitely enjoy seeing a lot of the young guys get in the lineup and you know, get some experience because definitely you're going to probably see a huge changeover on the offensive line come next season. So again, to me, my point is you got 6 wins. Now it's time to develop. I think you even asked Dino the question, like, you know, we're in the 4-game stretch now. Is it time to, you know, play some other players to get them some experience? Yeah,
I was going to get to that.
You know,
in the press conference, I asked Dino the first question, the last question, and a couple in between. And one of the questions was, hey, you know, you got a couple games left. You have that 4 games or less window. That's a new rule that was added in these past couple of years where you can play guys and still redshirt them. So at this point on the offensive line, do you look to mix it up a little bit and get some other looks out there just to see what you got? You know, and he said, you know, that's a good question and this and that. And, you know, and talking about, well, usually they're not out there because they're not ready and their bodies aren't ready. But with all due respect, what you got out there right now is not working. You're getting pushed around. So, you know, I mean, when a coach says, well, the guys that I have behind them are going to get pushed around worse, it's like, well, you know, I mean, at this point, why don't you just try something out, give something a shot, get a few different looks at it. If anything, it'll light a fire under somebody's butt thinking, I don't want to lose my job for next season. So, you know, and I'm adding all the videos here on our feed so you guys can check them out and see what we're talking about. But I had the opportunity to speak with Dino a bunch of times, and so we spoke about, Dino and I talked about the tragedy in Virginia. We spoke about the third quarter woes, which is something that I also brought up with him in the press conference. I said in this 4-game losing streak, in 3 out of the 4 games that you've lost in this streak, you have not scored in the third quarter at all. And against Notre Dame, you scored 10. So what is it about this 4-game losing streak that you're not coming out of halftime with the energy? So I said, what are the halftime adjustments, and what are you doing to try to assess the fact that in the third quarter you've gone cold, which, no matter what you look like in the first half, this team is not coming out fierce. They're not coming out striking.
Right.
Can you pinpoint anything?
This fan base won't get to see their team for these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so you did tell me that during the game also when you was researching that, but definitely, I mean, just take it back to the Clemson game, not to, dig it back up, but up 21, I believe 10 or something like that. And I was like, man, if we could just even score 10 points in that game, I said it before.
Yeah,
our defense was going to give up 30 points against Clemson, but we got shut out. So definitely they got to do a better job at whatever the halftime they're doing. Other teams are taking over. I mean, we know what they're going to take away from. I said it before. We're running right now. It's only like 3 players you got to focus on, but either they got to do better jobs at making those guys decoys and surprising them with a different route, countering whatever they're doing. But they definitely got to do a better job at self-scouting themselves, what they're good at or what they're bad at, and try to make it whatever their weakness is, they got to make it a better deal, making it a strength.
Looking at the offensive line, I know you've
continue
gone through
because everybody see on tape what you are trying to do.
Yeah.
Now it's a matter of can you get the guys
in this 4-game skid, the third quarter
execute well enough to perform and do what you want to do, because right now, and some of and you got it. Notre Dame, Pitt, Clemson, all these teams, you got to be honest with you. Is Syracuse at that talent level yet? Maybe on their good days, we can hang with them, but you just got to execute, because that's what we're not seeing. We talked about it too many times, how many times you're going to lead the defense on the field.
Yeah.
When they're doing everything they can to keep the score as close as possible. So, that was a good question. Be interesting to see what kind of adjustments they can come up with these next 2 games, because, Wake Forest is a potent offense. If anything else, they're going to put the points on the board. So if you can't hang with them points-wise, then really you don't have a shot coming this Saturday when you go down there to Winston-Salem and try to, battle you. Their defense, I don't know how well their defense is, but we know the offense definitely is going to put the points on the board.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, like you said, whether or not you've been successful at it, people know what you're trying to run, and they're watching it. And what frustrates me is when you talk about injuries and you talk about, Dino saying, oh, well, the guy that's behind him, his body's not ready. That's your job. You don't hear Dabo Sweeney go, oh, well, our backup center, his body's not ready. You don't hear Alabama go, well, our quarterback's throwing motion isn't ready. You don't hear Florida or Georgia or Ohio State or Michigan say, yeah, our backup DB hasn't, practiced enough to understand our plays, and his body isn't ready, and he hasn't lifted enough, and this and that. You don't hear the good teams talk about the guys behind them aren't ready. Their thing is the guy behind them, every year they're looking to win a championship, right? Alabama's looking to win a championship. Ohio State's looking to win a championship. Every team around the country should be looking to win one, but there's teams that are, and you say, well, Dan, Alabama's 5th string is arguably better than Syracuse's 1st string, is what a lot of people said in the past. I wouldn't agree with that now, but the reality of it all to me is, yeah, okay, they recruit guys, and yeah, they're going to have people that are maybe more prepared quicker. But that's something that I would also say to Jim Boeheim. Why does it take 3 years to put weight on any of our centers? By the time a center is good at Syracuse and they put on the weight and they put on the muscle and they can finally play offensively, they're juniors.
Right.
Why is that? Why don't you develop them quicker?
Right.
Or why don't you find guys that are already developed, like somebody that's gone to Georgetown? Or, some of the guys that have gone to other parts of the country. You go to Gonzaga, that guy is a freshman, is a big burly dude that's playing hard down low, and when he's a senior, he's a big burly dude playing hard down low. So the thing is if you're not recruiting these guys that are already ready to do it body type wise, then it's up to you to develop them. And they say, anybody can coach a team of a bunch of guys that comes in and is already ready to go. Anybody can coach, or anybody can lead Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, and Thor into battle. But can you lead them into battle before they got their powers, before they made their suits, and that's the question, is like, anybody can lead the all-star team, right? You put some people together and you say, okay, we got Jordan and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, or we have Brett Favre and Barry Sanders and Jerry Rice and Bruce Smith and Brian Cox on the same team. You can lead that team, right? But the question is, any coach can take an all-star team and probably find a way to do it. But the good coaches, the great coaches, develop their players. They take their players, and at the beginning of the season, you might be able to say in the spring, hey, this guy needs to put on 15 pounds of muscle. You might be able to say in the summer, hey, this guy needs to run better routes. You might be able to say in August, hey, I still want to see this person come off the block a little bit better. But at the end of the day, when game one starts, you can't sit here and tell me, well, 3 out of our 5 linemen that start are going to be good enough, and all the guys behind them shouldn't even be on the practice squad. That's your fault. You haven't developed them. You haven't gotten them ready. Because if you think for 1 second that all 22 of your starters on offense and defense, plus your special teams guys, are not going to get hurt, not have a game out, not have a death in the family, not have something, you're playing a barbaric sport expecting that none of your backups are going to play. And why was Deuce Chestnut ready to play as a freshman? Why was Matt Bergeron ready to play as a freshman? Why was Sean Tucker probably arguably ready to play before you let him play? So the reality of it all to me is there's guys that don't make excuses, and there's teams that don't make excuses, because good coaches and great coaches develop their players. So if your players are 10 games into the season and your backups aren't ready and some of your starters aren't developed enough, that's a coaching problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say that about any coach. This is not a Dino Hunt. I would say about Arizona, Oregon, UCLA. I mean, literally any team out there in America, Florida, Florida State, Oklahoma, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, Syracuse. If you have not developed your players from the spring to the summer to the fall, it's your fault. And if you're 10 games into the season and you're going to put out the same product over and over and over again, and then just look at the camera and go, well, it's not working, we need to get better. Well, you know what? It's not working, we need to get better. If this is what you're saying and you're not adjusting to anything, then I would much rather Syracuse not even play the last 2 games.
Right.
Than to go out there and put this out there and keep saying, I don't know why it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening because they're not developed.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. You watch those guys, because even you would think some of these guys have some senior leadership, been in the program a while. Like you said, we expect juniors or seniors to be the leaders and the production on the team, but yet we got some seniors that don't even really get on the field for some reason. I'm saying, like the wide receiver core. You got guys that have been around. It's like, okay,
yeah,
the guys are not new to college football. They've been around. They've played in games. So what's preventing them from seeing the field? Which I don't get sometimes, is we got guys that are around, the program for 4 years, and then, they may see backup time if you're lucky, but I don't know what it is. Sometimes, maybe somebody's got to axe the ground with certain players. They don't want to give them an opportunity or something. I don't know what the case may be. I'm just spitballing, but, but you see that sometimes, and I was thinking about this during the game, about some of these guys that are seniors and stuff. Sometimes they may do something, and let's say they get put in the dark, or they try to redeem themselves, and it's like they never get rewarded for sticking around. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a couple of players I could just think of. They're like, man, why is this guy getting picked over? Somebody younger just stepped in. And you know what? Again, best player play. I get it, all that good stuff. But when you down and you banged up, you definitely need, and that guy's there. You telling me, like you said, he's not developed enough in the program to be able to go in and execute a couple series here and there to give somebody a breather or whatnot?
Anthony Quealy, Damian Alford, and Courtney Jackson, Trevor Pena. That's just the wide receivers. You're not opening up the offense. You're not opening up the playbook. You're not looking for multiple guys. And in what world do you play a non-100% Garrett Trader who didn't hide after the game that he wasn't 100%
right,
and still not 100%? Why at halftime do you not say, all right, Garrett, we put you out there, we tried it, you're not doing well, we wanted to get you some reps, little smoke and mirrors, and you come out in the second half with Carlos Del Rio Wilson. they didn't play him until the last 3 minutes of the game.
Right.
And to me, I'm sitting here saying, I told you that, re-injured. We don't want him to hurt himself. So why are you playing him? And you're playing him against an explosive. And what did I tell you? Notre Dame is physical. They're big. Notre Dame is power. Florida State is speed and power. And so you got big old dudes that are 300 pounds running around the edge of the line like they're friggin' gazelles, like they're wide receivers. Florida State has long been known to have defensive linemen that can come around the edge and linebackers that can come around the edge like they're wide receivers.
Oh, we've seen it in the first half. That sack they got on them. That was a bone crushing hit. I don't know.
Yeah, he got hit once, and then the second guy blew him up. And I'm kind of happy that the one guy maybe hit him this way, and that the other guy didn't hit him head on the way that he could have, because the freight train that was coming, nobody blocked it.
Yeah.
Nobody blocked it.
Right.
And I'm sitting here saying to myself, and I told you my prediction was my prediction, because Syracuse played a three-headed running back system against Notre Dame, and I said they got a three-headed running back system at Florida State at least that averages 6 yards a carry, plus they have Jordan Travis and two other guys, and all five of those backs 4.6 yards a carry or better. So you got 5 backs plus Jordan Travis, and I saw what Notre Dame did. These guys are going to be speed and power, and they're going to beat the hell out of them on defense.
Right.
My score was my score, which was right there and not far off from the actual score, because of the fact that I know who Florida State is. I know what they, and I trust Mike Norvell, and I said this year going into the season, it's year number 3, please stop complaining, he's going to bring them back. And look at them now. They're second in the Atlantic Division. They have a chance of going 9-3 this season. They're going to get a really good bowl game. And I think next year, without divisions, they could put themselves in a position to play Clemson in the ACC championship.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, the Coastal Division can't get. Well, I don't know. North Carolina, they're gonna they're gonna have something to say about it too. But yeah,
North Carolina against Florida State.
I don't know, man.
They can both score, but
that quarterback, man, I like what I see. But no, but you make a good point, though. Hey, they could put Clemson out of the title game next year with the way they playing.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, they definitely got to go back to the drawing board and do something different these last 2 games. Hopefully, and you listen to Dino, he's like maybe getting away from the dome may help them a little bit. I don't know why you would want to be. If we're the 12th man, you should be glad to be in front of your, and I know they are glad to be home in front of their fans, but that shouldn't be any other pressure than any other game there. Just because you're on the road, that should be any easier than playing there in front of your home fans. So
yeah,
I don't know. They just got to come out and be ready to execute offensively.
Dino's like, maybe getting away from home would be good for us, and I'm like, why would playing in a hostile environment be better for you to be away from your fans? And the way you're playing, probably less of your fans are going to show up.
Right.
So, which really frustrates me, because I can't, and I say this all the time, there's literally no place for fair weather fans anywhere, but definitely there's no place for fair weather fans in Syracuse, because the weather is not fair during this time of year. So it's like the opposite of fair. It's unfair weather. So, I'm sitting here thinking like, there's no fair weather fans here because the weather's not fair. But the fans, they're like, and that's the thing. They're not going to show up to Wake. They're not going to show up to BC. And the way that they're going right now, they're not going to show up to the bowl game. So to me, I'm looking at this really frustrated. And the question that people have asked are, if Dino goes 6-7 or 7-6, which is to me very more than likely at this point, do you look and say it's time to make a change 7 years in? Yeah, you brought us to a bowl game, but you didn't beat the really good teams. You had a great first half of the season. The second half of the season, you made no adjustments. You fell apart. You backed into a bowl game and embarrassed us en route to a bowl game to the point where people didn't even think we deserved the bowl game.
Right.
So, at that point, do you look at it and say, okay, Dino, thank you, but we're not going to give you a third raise in this time period of losing? They gave him a raise at 1-10.
Right.
They gave him a raise at 5-7. Scott Schaefer's probably, losing his friggin' mind over that. And then you give him a buyout, which I don't even know if Syracuse coaches in the past had a buyout.
Right.
And you give him a buyout, so now you got money on top of money on top of money. And the question now is, if I'm Dino and 1-10 was good enough, 5-7 was good enough, then I'm going to look at you and go, I want another raise because I made a bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
So does John Wildhack turn around and go, yeah, but I can't sell this anymore?
Yeah, I don't see a raise, but I don't see them being let go either, though. You know, again, coming into the season, do you even think they'll be where they're at now?
Right.
Is that, I mean, because you can't, if you had a prediction to say, oh, we're only going to get 3 or 4 wins, and they already exceeded that, then, I mean, you can't go back and say, well, no, I want to reposition the goalposts and say, no, you didn't get the 8 wins because I said you were going to get the 8 wins.
But when you tell a coach 1-10 is good enough, then that coach is going to turn around and tell you what. Apparently, as long if I go to a bowl game, it's like I won a national championship. If 1-10, I get a raise.
Right.
How do you
I'm not saying give him a raise now. Yeah.
No. But I'm saying
you got to finish your contract out. Basically, is what I'm saying. You know, whatever that contract is, if you got like 1 year or 2 years left,
I'm saying,
or maybe 1 at least.
Yeah,
because you brought in a new coaching staff too. So
if I did nothing and you gave me a raise, and I did nothing and you gave me a raise, and if I'm going to a bowl game, I'm going to ask for a raise.
Right.
Because you've been dumb enough to give it to me twice.
But I'm gonna be like, remember the other 2 years.
Yeah, I'm going to go, I do remember. I'm better than those years, so give me my money. That's what I would say.
I'll be like, slow down. Really?
You know, that's like when Adam Sandler turned around going, you know, like he made some good movies, right?
Right.
But he made some stinkers, right?
Yeah.
So that's like him making Jack and Jill and saying, well, you know, Grown Ups was really good. And it's like, yeah, but you played a female version of yourself in Jack and Jill, and it was an awful movie from beginning to end.
So Jack and Jill and Little Nicky is what you said?
Yeah, he's like, I got my Little Nicky 1-10 Babers year. I got my Jack and Jill 5-7 year, and so now I want you to pay me because I got my Grown Ups 6 and something year. So give me my money. And then he's like, and then next year I'm gonna make Grown Ups 2, and there's gonna be a tire that's going down this road at 150 miles an hour. It's gonna hit Shaq and fall, and it's gonna make a movie based in reality of friendship turn into some science fiction thing because there's no way in hell that tire didn't blow up Shaquille O'Neal. So you look at this thing and say to yourself, like, you made a movie, it was really good. You made a second one, and it was awful. So now it's kind of like, all right, Dino, you made the 10-3, and that was good. And then you made the 1-10. You made Little Nicky. You made Jack and Jill. And now you're telling me you want to make Grown Ups 3, and I kind of feel like you're going to make Jack and Jill 2.
Right.
Is where I'm at right now. So where do we go from here?
Right.
And listen, I like Dino, and I have a good relationship with Dino. I'm just asking a question of, how do you keep selling mediocrity to the Syracuse fans that are already pissed, already mad? When Paul Pasqualoni got fired, he got fired for being 6-6 twice.
Right.
Paul Pasqualoni had one losing season. One losing season in all of his years. All these great bowl games, all this fantastic recruiting, connected to the community, recruited locally, brought the old players back, kept the alumni connected, did all the right things, and he got fired at 6-6. And now Dino, if he gets to 6-6, he can stay forever. You know,
I don't know about forever,
but it's like on the hill.
Yeah,
Last year, going into the season, coming off of 1-10, they said, "Oh, well, that was a COVID year." You're acting like you're the only team that had to deal with COVID, and we didn't even have players get that.
Come on, Ohio State didn't come in until the halfway through the season. Dino like, I want the Ohio State treatment. I want to just start halfway in the season.
I mean, when he sat there and said it was a COVID year,
No, I got you.
I'm looking around the world going, well, you didn't, so the other 130 plus teams didn't go through it? Like, you just had COVID in America?
Right.
And by the way, we were one of the only teams in America that did not have to change the day of any of our games. We played all of our games on schedule except for the first home game of the season that we played 37 minutes late. So we played every game on the day we were supposed to play it, and John Wildhack says, well, it's a COVID year, you can't hold it against them. Yet Alabama was still good, Clemson was still good, the good teams were still good.
Right.
And then the next year you go 5-7, and going into that year he says he doesn't have to worry. And then going into this year he goes, yeah, there's no reason to worry. So if I'm a coach hearing at 0-0 I have nothing to worry about, I can do whatever the hell I want.
Right.
What are you going to do? So now that I got a bowl win, if I am Dino, based on the track record of Syracuse stupidity, I'm asking for more money.
Right.
Because this year, I'm going to a bowl game.
Well, that would be kind of bold if he asked.
But it's bold to give him it at 1-10.
I got you. I got you.
You know what I mean? It's like, if you gave it to him then, you should give it to him now.
Right. No. Yeah, logic. It makes logical sense, But you know what? Just put it this way, and you were saying, what is he selling? He see what now 6-0 brings the community now. But you can't fall back. Exactly. You can't fall back on your laurels and think, oh, yeah, we were 6-0 because now, again, the team is struggling and it's like bad news bears again, all over again. Yeah. Here we go again.
People say the same old Syracuse.
Right,
and that's not what I want to hear from the fans.
Exactly.
Dino has to show that he can make adjustments.
Right.
And we always talk about at halftime, Dino does not make he doesn't make adjustments at halftime like the coaches against him make adjustments at halftime. So the question that comes up is if he struggles to make adjustments at halftime to these teams and can't figure teams out again, when players are not developed 10 games in, when your backups aren't ready to go 10 games in, when guys haven't conditioned enough 10 games in, and you can't make adjustments 10 games in, that's on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
You can't just sit here and go, we recruited the wrong guys.
Yeah.
Because that's still on you.
Mm-hmm.
If you say the guys aren't ready, I go, okay, well, that's your fault.
Right.
Because if you got a bunch of deadbeats that don't want to learn, kick them off the team. But if they're there in the room learning this, that, and whatever, what can you do? At a certain point, you have to, and that's why I said to him, you got this rule, 4 games or less, put the guys in, let them play, see what you got. If you're going to put Garrett Schrader out there at 72% or 90% or 80 whatever percent, then at that point, Carlos Torrio Wilson, Jacoby and Morgan, LaQuint Allen, put players out there, get them reps, get them opportunities, get them to get experience and get them ready for next season. But this going through the motions thing to me, it makes me not want to watch the next 2 games because I don't want to watch a team who's going to play vanilla offense, play it close to the vest, and do the bare minimum to just go through the motions and get through it. Because Florida State was completing passes, dropping back, and looking at receivers who were running routes as if they were in practice. They looked like they were scouting a game and doing a walkthrough.
Yeah.
And that, to me, my mother said that, watching it from home. She goes, she's like, the guys would run their routes, and the quarterback would just stand back there so comfortable, and the guy would turn around and just be right there. And I said, yeah. And I said it to you, and you go, well, this is real football. And I said, well, there's juxtaposition on the field then.
Well, and some of that, too, is how many times we both said this, is like when we're on offense or when we either play, and maybe that's something the defense, because I was getting peed off on the watching that Pitt game. It's just how soft we was playing the receivers and stuff. But I don't know. Maybe it's like when we're on offense, a pass goes to our receivers and the DBs are on his back, swiping the ball. But when they're passing on us, it's like we got somebody like 3 or 4 yards away from them. And that's what the other team was doing on the sideline when they throwing their routes and stuff. It's like, okay, where's the?
Well,
why are we not running routes this way?
You called it in the first half. Isaac literally looked at me and he said, "Yo, they're gonna go after Deuce right now."
Yeah.
And Deuce was playing 10 yards off, and that was the play with the 24-yard touchdown pass from Jordan Travis, where he throws out to his one receiver on the right-hand side. Deuce runs up after playing 10 yards off, goes to tackle his waist, and the guy literally went like this.
Yeah,
and went like that, moved him off, just like did a little salsa, moved him off, and walked into the end zone.
I mean, if they wanted to put him on the island, he was on that island, and I was like, here it comes.
Yeah.
They're going to go after him. And so,
ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It's just, and then we sound like a broken record, but we see plays that work, and then like, where did the play go? I mean, I've seen in the beginning, first play of the year, I believe, at home, it was a comeback route to my man, number 9, Courtney Jackson, came back on a comeback route. I haven't seen a comeback route with Courtney Jackson for the rest of the season.
At all. Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, okay. I'm thinking this is the new offensive philosophy. If they give you that, Louisville was backing up. That's how fast we played offense.
This is the offense.
Exactly.
The offense is like a fax machine now. It's like the basic, old, wait on it forever.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
But, if Louisville gave us a cushion, we took what we got, with a comeback route. I don't know. It is frustrating.
Well, so many times we watch Syracuse play, I've said to you a million times, why don't we use their medicine against them? And why don't we attack the things that they attack on Syracuse?
Right.
And I've said to you multiple times over and over from season to season, why doesn't Syracuse use exactly what's happening to them? And then they finally started doing it with Aronde Gadsden over the middle. And so when everyone's keen on Gadsden, why are you not throwing a Damian Alford? Why are you not throwing a Courtney Jackson? Why are you not throwing a Trevor Pena? When Trevor Pena's out there, he's catching the ball, he's doing things in the middle, he's not afraid. What Damian Alford has got 6 inches, 7 inches, 5 inches on the DBs out there, and you're not throwing him the damn ball like you don't trust him to catch it. Then you got Courtney Jackson, who's one of the only guys that has been here a while that didn't transfer, and you're going to punish him for not transferring like Nykeem Johnson and a bunch of other guys. I mean, if you look at the last 2 years in the transfer portal for Syracuse, the majority of players that transfer were wide receivers. I think it was like 4, and then it was 5 or something like that.
Right.
There's guys that transferred that came in and we didn't even see. There's a tight end that came in that I don't even know if he played a down.
He transferred before fall camp was over.
Yeah. Then there was one guy that transferred in, and before the plane landed, he left. Like Manny Diaz. He looked around, he's like, I'm not going to do that. You know, and it's just, to me, it's ridiculous, but it says something about Syracuse when guys are not only transferring out. They say when there's a mass exodus that it's a management problem.
Right.
And the mass exodus, when it's a bunch of your receivers, is a big issue. And then now here you are throwing the ball more, but you're throwing to one guy. And that's my frustration.
Yeah,
with Coach and I and with Dino Babers, I'm sitting here saying to myself, if the only 2 plays you have is Sean Tucker up the middle and Aronde Gadsden over the middle, then even the dumbest, most unprepared, ridiculous defense can figure out 2 plays because they're Division I football players. They could have literally started their football team yesterday.
Right.
Could be UAB coming back from their own death penalty when they got rid of their program, and you're the first game that they play, and they're going to go, well, on film, they run the ball up the middle, and
you watch the tape.
They throw it over the middle, so what are you hiding? And again, why are we not allowed in practice? I know your 2 plays.
Or the counter to Sean goes this way, and Schrader's trying to block for him on a bad leg. He can't block for him, so yeah. You know, so, but nah, yeah, you make a good point.
And if I'm a receiver, why do I want to block down the field when you're never going to throw me the ball?
Right. And you know what? Some of that transferring stuff is a little bit of fool's gold, too, because some of these guys, you know, they're good, but they're not as good as they think they are. And then, and it's unfortunate because they leave a program that's trying to develop them, and then they leave, and then they barely can get back onto another team somewhere. You know, and that's the sad thing.
Yeah.
You know, you got guys that you put 2 or 3 years in, and then, like you say, frustration gets the best of everybody, and they want to jump ship. And you know what? You know, that's the tough part about it. You know. Because I'm not going to name the names, but, you know, if you could think of some of those players that left that probably had some eligibility left, what would if they could have been around? Yeah, that could have been.
They would have not gotten thrown the ball.
Maybe. Some of them was getting thrown the ball, but they were just frustrated. And I get it. But now that you keep adding, the point is you keep adding pieces through recruiting. Yeah. But when you leave, now I'm the guy that's getting double teamed. Now I'm the guy that's getting triple teamed. But if somebody stick around, now they can probably figure out, all right, we can play off this and that. But you're never going to get that till players buy in, believe, and try to stick it out. But I get it. That's just today's college football.
I put it to you like this. Picture Aronde Gadsden. So I'm going to do the candy I like. So picture Aronde Gadsden is a Baby Ruth, right? And Courtney Jackson is a Reese's, and Trevor Pena is an Almond Joy, and what I'm trying to think about my top candy, and then
Snickers,
and then Damian Alford's a Kit Kat, right?
Okay.
I want that Baby Ruth every damn time, but sometimes I gotta eat a Reese's, and sometimes I gotta go for a Kit Kat, and sometimes, God forbid, I'm living in Isaac's world, I gotta get a white chocolate Kit Kat when all the candy's gone, because there's always white chocolate still available. But if I'm out there, okay, if I'm going to houses on Halloween and I want Reese's, Baby Ruth, yeah, I don't want a Fifth Avenue bar, but I might have to take a Snickers. I might have to take a Twix. I might have to take an Almond Joy. Spread the ball around, and really what it comes down to is I'm pissed off and I'm hungry, and that's how I got there.
That Fifth Avenue is going to have to transfer. That's all I'm saying.
I've only gotten sick on one candy bar in my life. I had a mini Fifth Avenue, that toffee, nasty disgustingness. I ate it, I spit it into the trash can, and then I threw up. So, and then some And then some kid, I don't want to call him. So one of the kids I grew up with, so many kids I grew up with, I don't know why, they hated Baby Ruth. Wow. And so I'd be sitting with them, and one kid goes, I'll trade you all of my Baby Ruth for one Fifth Avenue bar. And I go, what are you, the Houston Texans trading David Johnson for DeAndre Hopkins? Yes, of course. You're going to give me 15 Baby Ruths for this throw-up stick? Yeah, you can have it.
Exactly.
And then I was like, man, I give you all my Fifth Avenue. He's like, just for that one Fifth Avenue, I'll give you all this stuff. And I was like, you got to be dumb as a box of rocks.
Some people got weird taste. I don't know.
Some people just like throwing up.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know anybody. Well, that's not true. As a kid, I feel like 2 girls said to me, they're like, Fifth Avenue bars, they're my favorite. And we never dated, and I don't remember their name or their face. Because I don't trust people that are stupid.
Hence the theme of today's show. There's a lot of stupid people out there.
I don't trust people that are stupid. I really don't. What am I gonna use for this? I don't trust people that are stupid. Hold on, let me find a good one here.
Drop the bomb on him.
I don't trust stupid people. You know, I'm looking at this kid, I'm trying not to smile when he's giving me all these Baby Ruths. I'm sitting here thinking I'm going to eat all 15 right in front of him.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not even going to make it home. I'm a fiend for Baby Ruths. And I realized in my house, because I share, and see, Isaac comes into the house and I got a candy dish, and Isaac will help himself. That's what it's there for. And Isaac's not a good example because I'll share with Isaac because we're like family. But there was this one guy that used to come in my house all the time, leave his name unnamed. And I had a big old Halloween candy thing, and I put the Twix in the bottom, and there was a ton of Three Musketeers.
Three Musketeers.
And so they're like all sitting in there. That man dug his paws to the bottom, surfaced the Twix, saw there was 2 left, ate them both, and then looked at me. So now what I do is I put half my Twix in the thing. I put the other half in a secret location. And then I started hiding my Reese. And if I got it any Baby Ruth, I didn't even tell people I had them in the house.
Right.
And I would eat them in secret and keep them somewhere else. You know, and I got girls being like, I didn't know you had Twix, Dan. I'm like, well, I don't know how long you're going to be dating me. So
exactly.
I don't know if you're going to stay in this relationship. I told you there's a 90-day probation to dating me. There's a 3-month probation. So you want to start dating before Christmas? That is before the 90 days, so you are not getting a Christmas gift. Yep. Maybe we'll go to dinner. Maybe we'll take a little carriage ride. But it's going to be an experience that I can enjoy too. It's not going to be a gift you can take with you. So you're on a 90-day probation. If we start dating now, that means that the 90 days is over sometime in February.
Well, just in time for Valentine's.
Yeah, so if you make it there, good for you. But look at it now. Today, as we're talking, it's November 17th. So your 90-day probation, November to December 17th, December to January, February, and then to February 17th. So I will not have to do anything for Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and Valentine's Day. And then we'll see if your butt's going to stick around for Easter.
Right.
And if you want to be a part of it. That's how I feel.
Hey, that
because
like
I bought way
plan.
too much stuff and done way too many things. So now I have a 90-day probation period that if a girl really wants to date me before Christmas and Valentine's Day, she's going to have to show me why I should believe in the relationship. And then I'll look at it. But as of right now, if we start dating today, you can have all my Fifth Avenue bars.
So, ladies, he's saying you got to meet him after Labor Day. Labor Day, you're in good. You wait too late after Halloween, there's no catch.
And I want to meet her after Labor Day because I want to see if she works. You got to work for it. Relationships take work, and I don't ask for anything I don't give. But if you want to go from Fifth Avenue to Baby Ruth, you got 90 days to prove yourself. And me too. Me too, and I'm fine with that. I could buy myself my own Christmas gifts because I'm gonna be generous to myself this Christmas because last year I was like, do I buy gifts? What do I do? And I bought, for the girl I was dating, I bought stuff I wouldn't even have bought my ex-wife. And after knowing her for 7 years, I bought this like expensive, great stuff that you would buy a woman that you're going to marry, spend the rest of your life with. And what I thought about walking through Kohl's a few days ago, because this isn't in Kohl's, but I'm walking through Kohl's and I saw the purses, and I was like, man, I bought that Fifth Avenue girl a Kate Spade purse. I should have been giving her all my Whoppers. Like, All them malt balls.
Exactly.
You know? I should have been giving her the candy that I found underneath the pull-out stove that I wiped the hair off of. You know what I mean? I should have found those old milk duds.
Yeah, you gave her a Baby Ruth, man. I don't know what
I gave her a Baby Ruth when she was a milk dud. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. I'm not sorry for anything I said. So, you know, I'm sorry if it hurts. But this is the thing. I didn't name names.
No.
So if you're watching and listening to the show right now
Just
and you're
give us
offended,
a thumb up. Just
right? Yeah, just give it a like. And when you watch it 3 weeks from now and you go, bro, why are you talking about Wake Forest? It's over. Give that a like because you're dumb as you know. I almost said it. I almost said you're dumb as blank, but I didn't say it. But the reality for me is if you are offended by something that is anonymously unnamed, you're proving that you are that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if I came out and I said people who cheat are ridiculous and you don't, if I said, you know, if you're a cheater, then, you know, nobody should stay with you. And somebody disliked it and said they were offended, then they're a cheater. Mm-hmm. Why would it offend you?
What's the saying? If the shoe fits?
Wear it. And I remember I said it about one of my aunts. I said, I didn't even say it. I said, family doesn't have to be blood. Family are the people that love you, that show up, that call you, respect you, and treat you kindly. My aunt called my dad and said, you wouldn't believe what your son posted. And she got mad. And I said, wait a minute. All I said was, family are the people that show up, love you, and appreciate you. So by calling my dad and screaming at him, you were saying you don't love me and appreciate me because that offended you. So the reality of it all is you just outed yourself. You just basically went to the cops and said, cuff me, I killed him. And what do you want me to say about that? I said, Dad, by her calling you, saying she was offended, I said, where in there did I put a name? And he's like, well, Daniel, you were insinuating. I said, no, I was talking in a broad scope. She figured out who she was and got mad about it.
A guilty conscience.
Right.
Well, that's basically what it was.
I don't get offended when people talk about cheaters. I don't cheat. I also don't get offended when people talk about stupid people because I don't consider myself dumb. And if I had something dumb to say, I keep it to myself. Or I ask Isaac what the answer is before I say it. So we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. For all those people that think 2 + 2 is 5, good luck. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll come back right after this with more about Syracuse at Wake Forest, about the coach that I think knows Dino in the second half better than any coach in the ACC, and that being Dave Clawson. And then we'll take a look at the ACC as a whole and the college football rankings. Oh my goodness. I might actually agree with the college football playoff. And I've been doing that since it came out in the rankings this year. I don't know what's happening. But the college football playoff and I are like this, son. We'll talk about it right after this fast break.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, New York, inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse at their drive-through location. And, of course, all throughout the studio, you see the 315 sign here behind Isaac. You see the Syracuse pillow here, the home sweet home. We got the upstate Syracuse ornament. You can actually hang these all year round, put them up on your wall, put them in your studio, put them in your office to let people know where you're from and what you love and support. And, of course, you can check these out, too. You can put these on the tree or have these whenever you want. And we have the Upstate New York 315. You can also buy all the apparel that looks like this. And they recently just got hats that have this on. This is the upside-down light that is out there by Coleman's on Tip Hill. So you can check that out and confuse the heck out of yourself by the zoo as to when you're allowed to go. So some people don't understand normal lights, so I challenge them with this one and think it's terrifying. So, you know, I don't know what happened with Syracuse drivers, but y'all need some work. Got to figure it out together. We got to do it. I think if I was a cop, I'd probably take away 50% of the licenses in Syracuse and start all over again. So we shall see. And Witty Wicks, also thank you for bringing us your awesome candles and putting them here in the studio. They smell terrific. This is my namaste at home. And like I said, when you deal with a lot of people that make you wonder if God made every batch of human, sometimes I just need to namaste and put this candle on and breathe in the beautiful smells of Witty Wicks. And remember that some people, just like driver's licenses, should not be given social media accounts. So we're happy to be here with you, hanging out. Syracuse Talk, Tortora and Alford, Isaac Alford, myself, Dan Tortora, inside a wake-up call, and taking a look at Wake Forest. So your thoughts on Wake Forest?
Wake Forest, they had a pretty decent season so far. I mean, I know they had that one bad hiccup against Louisville where they turned the ball over a million gazillion times. And
6 times in the third quarter.
Yeah. Gave up like 35 points in the third quarter. But really, all in all, he had a pretty solid season. You know, Sam Hartman. I think he's still, I don't know where he's at right now, but I know not too long ago they was showing he was close to having the touchdown lead for the ACC all-time record for touchdowns. I think Taj Boyd was leading that stat for the conference.
Yeah.
But you know, you look at him, the guy's been, it feels like he's been around forever. You know, or if it's just Dave Clawson just cloning that quarterback, you know, year after year, it's like, you know, if it ain't Skinner or whatever, you know, it's the same guy that's coming out and producing. And what I really like about Hartman is he doesn't get rattled. You know, they may play that long mesh and hold the ball, and you would think people would be able to blitz him and sack him, and they do blitz, but he'll just pull
touchdown.
Right. So very efficient offense. I mean, offenses like this, I kind of want to see. I know we're a little banged up in the back end too. I mean, I wish we still had Garrett Williams out there with Deuce, but I always like these challenges for our secondary because I always think our secondary is our strength on the team. So I would like to see them go against these teams that have a high potent offense in the air attack, just to see if we can slow them down a little bit. You know, Jahar Carter got a couple. He broke his little streak he had going there with turnovers. I think it was like 3 straight games he had an interception or a turnover or something like that. But our defense play against some of these high power. The problem again is just, you know, what can we do on offense to, you know, make it competitive and keep the defense in? Because say what you want, you know, we talk about, you know, offense on the field to keep the defense off the field for rest, but when the offense scores, it hypes everybody up. You know, now the defense is back out there on the field, like, all right, let's get the ball back for the offense. And, you know, it goes hand in hand, you know, or if they get a great punt return or something like that, you know, after the defense have a stop or 3 and out or something like that. All that stuff plays off itself. But, you know, but we definitely know Wake Forest is a team that's going to execute. And I don't think, like you said, there's a Dave Clawson game where they feel like they're out of the game, you know, unless it's got to be no time left on the clock when you think you got to secure the win against a Demon Deacons team that he's been coaching so far. So
yeah, I feel like the way Syracuse's offense is playing now, if the defense gets a takeaway, they're holding on to the ball, Mike Kell has it, and then the offense is like this, and Mike Cal's like, I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna hold on to this for the rest of the game. You know, you can have it when you earned it. You know, Mike Cal should be like, you're on a 90-day, you're on a 90-day probation period. But that's what it feels like right now. But Sam Hartman, I mean, listen, the quarterbacks coming into this season, for goodness sakes, I mean, the way Garrett Schrader played, and let me say this for the 150 millionth time, I never said he couldn't throw the ball, and can't speak for anybody else, but I did not say that he couldn't throw. I actually said he could when people were, oh, yeah, okay. So you come in with Garrett Schrader at Syracuse. You come in with Drake May at North Carolina. You come in with my guy Riley Leonard at Duke. You come in with Devin Leary at NC State. You come in with Malik Cunningham at Louisville. You come in with Sam Hartman at Wake Forest. It's like, really? You know what I mean? You look at you come in, and you come in with DJ Uiagalelei, and, you know, people just cut and pasting. Well, do you remember last year that he blah, blah, blah? And I think at one point I was talking with you, and he had like 16. It was something ridiculous, like 11 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Him and Garrett was pretty much neck and neck the first 6 games.
Yeah, you know, you're looking at his completion percentage, and you're looking at his yardage, and what he had been able to do. And I think it was 10 or 11 touchdowns to 1 or 2 interceptions. And the way he ran the ball, and Garrett's numbers were almost completely the same as DJ's, and DJ had played 1 extra game at the time.
Right.
And on top of that, Garrett had a better completion percentage. So, you know, you look at just the quarterbacks here, Jordan Travis at Florida State, and how he's improved from last year. I mean, the ACC, to say that this is not a quality conference and they don't, you know, they can't hang with anybody. You look at the quarterbacks inside of the ACC, and I named more than half of the ACC.
Yeah, and you still got a couple guys that you didn't mention that's on Miami. Got a great quarterback. You know, he even, you know, Van Dyke had struggles, but, you know, they had his name at the top of the list coming into the season. Just top to bottom, the ACC quarterback position it can go toe-to-toe with anybody.
BC's Phil Dracovic, what he had been putting together.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you look at all of that, and then you look at the fact that, you know, this is a conference that just lost Kenny Pickett, so the NFL for Pittsburgh. You know, I mean, there's and Riley Leonard, a starter for the first time as the outright starter. You know, I mean, seeing what these teams have done inside of the ACC has been incredible just at the quarterback position. So, you know, give credit where credit is due and know that these guys can air it out. And I would love to see how the Big Ten would play against an ACC week in and week out that's putting 7, 8, 9 of their 14 quarterbacks out there like this, you know?
There's no breaks, in especially in the Atlantic side of the ACC. And like you said, we got some good, young, up-and-coming coastal quarterbacks that are going to got a couple more years under their belts. And who knows when it's all said and done, where they're going to be on the charts when their careers are done. So, yeah, if you want to match up at least the Atlantic side of the ACC with anybody in the Big Ten, I definitely would want to see those games, you know.
9 of 14 teams heading into college football week 12 are going to a bowl game from the ACC. 9 of 14, and there's still 2 teams that are mathematically still potentially going there. Miami's got to win 1 game. Georgia Tech, believe it or not, has got to win 2 and they can get in. But in the Atlantic Division, 6 out of 7 teams are going to a bowl game. At the time we're talking, Clemson 9-1, Florida State 7-3, Syracuse 6-4, NC State 7-3, Louisville 6-4, Wake Forest 6-4 in the Atlantic. In the Coastal, North Carolina 9-1, Duke 7-3, Pittsburgh 6-4, and then Miami at 5-5, Georgia Tech at 4-6. Still mathematically able to get there. Virginia Tech, and Boston College are the 3 teams that will not be going. But at the very least, the ACC will send 9 of 14 teams to the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many teams did we even get in the postseason last year? You know, I don't think it was this many.
No, it might have been. I mean, it might be a year where they'll send like maybe 7 or 6
at most.
The Big Ten right now, they have in the East Division, Michigan and Ohio State, who have barely been tested, are both 10-0. They're going. Penn State, who's in the top 11, and I still can't figure out why, they're going. Maryland, and well, Dan, why are you saying that you didn't say about the ACC? Because the ACC is not in the top 10 outside of Clemson, and they deserve to be there. So Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State and Maryland are all bowl eligible. Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota are all bowl eligible. So that gives you 8 in the Big Ten, who has 14 schools as well. So they have one less. And then Michigan, Rutgers, and Wisconsin are still mathematically alive.
Still in there, yeah.
Northwestern, Nebraska, Indiana are not. And the difference between this and the ACC is I don't think these teams get tested as much.
Right.
And, Michigan and Ohio State, that's setting up to be 11-0 versus 11-0. And I'm still going to ask you why they're number 2 and 3 in the nation. When we talk about it's who you play in front of you and it's the ranked teams and it's your non-conference, and neither one of those teams to me has been battle tested. But you know what? Let them in the college football playoff. Let them get blown out.
That's basically what's going to happen.
I mean, TCU playing either one of these teams when TCU can score 40 or 50 points in a game, I'd love to see that game.
Definitely. And TCU earned it. I want to definitely see.
TCU actually earned their keep.
And I definitely would love to see them go against one of these, whatever team from the Big Ten survives. Because that's all it really is just a setup. So whoever wins, they automatically get that bid into the playoffs. So.
A 2-loss LSU team is better than Ohio State and Michigan right now.
Exactly. No doubt about it.
And so is Tennessee.
I'd take both of those teams over in the team in the Big Ten.
I would take TCU, LSU, Tennessee, Georgia right now, and three of 4 be in the SEC. I still think Clemson is a viable option, even though they want to throw them out because they had 1 loss.
Right.
But, the reality to me is if they blow out North Carolina, they need to be spoken about. And then at the same time, LSU needs to be spoken about. Tennessee needs to be spoken about. Whoever wins the SEC championship should get in. So if LSU beats Georgia, then to me they should get in because it'll be the second time they played each other. And Tennessee played Georgia this year.
Yeah.
So LSU playing Georgia this year in the championship game. If that's what's going to happen, to me, if LSU wins, they need to get in.
But yeah, they definitely will get in. But then that'll leave a Georgia team.
No, you can't leave Georgia out.
No, you can't leave them out. That's what I'm saying. That'll leave a Georgia team that will probably be in the picture too, with an undefeated TCU.
And then Tennessee plays in at that point, Tennessee would be playing in a New Year's 6.
Right.
And listen, for the schedule that Ohio State and Michigan play, let them play a New Year's 6 bowl. Let them play one of the last bowl games. But don't put either one of these teams in the college football playoff. Because if you're going to do that, then what are you saying to the American? What are you saying to the Sun Belt? What are you saying to the ACC? What are you saying to the Pac-12? What are you saying to the Big 12 if you're going to put those teams in?
Basically, somebody on the committee value and them way more than they value.
When the chair of your committee for the last few years has been the Iowa AD, hello.
Exactly. So you're going to look out for your conference, and I see that. So, definitely I would love to see a team like TCU stick around and undefeated TCU. We, like you said, we've seen the Cincinnatis of the world and UCFs of the world. The guys that probably put a couple years together, not just one season, couple seasons together.
Yeah, both of them put back-to-back years together.
And not to get let in or barely just get their opportunity to play. Yeah. So.
And it's ridiculous to me. And and people make the argument and they'll say, well, Dan, Isaac, Ohio State's a better brand. Then call it the branding bowl. Don't call it the college football playoff. Call it the branding playoff.
Right.
If it's the branding playoff, then Notre Dame should play Ohio State, Penn State, and Alabama, and let's call it a day. But if it's based on what you've done on paper and who you played in front of you and the level of competition you've gone up against, then TCU, Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee right now.
Yeah, and then it also comes down to not only brand, but who they suspect is going to put people in the stands. That's another part of it too. So,
but I didn't hear anybody complain about Tennessee or about Cincinnati last year.
Right.
And Nick Saban, when I finally got to interview Nick Saban, and I thank God for the opportunity. I thank Alabama and I thank the Cotton Bowl. When I got to interview Nick Saban, I said, "Hey, on the other sideline, looking across at Luke Fickell in Cincinnati, what are your thoughts?" And I want to thank all of the media outlets that used the answer to my question and gave me no credit, but I do want to thank you for me doing your job that day. But to put that to give that answer, I mean, and I have it up on my YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and it's on the homepage of wakeupcalldt.com because I keep an archive of like the top ones that I consider and rotate and whatnot. And when I asked Nick Saban, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, there is no doubt in my mind that team didn't deserve to be here. He said there's absolutely no doubt in my mind, talking about Cincinnati, that team absolutely deserved to be in the college football playoff. And when Nick Saban of Alabama says it, maybe people will start listening.
Yeah, there are a few people probably listen to it, but then again, it's just hard, for some of these, if you don't consider them Power 5 conferences, to get those opportunities. And you know what? Those guys, like you said, they earn it. They put everything on the field. Very competitive group of guys, especially when you get a team that can stick together like we've been talking about. Yeah. Stick together and battle test it. The year before that, they took Georgia to the wire. So,
and I was at that game.
Yeah.
Georgia needed the last two possessions to save face and get out of there with a field goal. Mm-hmm. The majority of that game was Cincinnati's game, and Georgia had to find a way to just get out alive. Mm-hmm. Just like when Syracuse played Auburn and you could tie, Auburn had to find a way to kick a field goal, tie the game, and get out alive. Right. So, I mean, you're looking at the SEC barely hanging on, and when the game ended, people were like, oh, this is what I told you. You can't hang with us. That's what I said. Look at Georgia doing their thing. I mean, this is what we told you guys. You don't belong here. And it's like, wait a minute. 80-some-odd% of this game went to Cincinnati. You kicked a field goal at the end of the game. You're acting like you won by 9 touchdowns.
Right.
Shut your mouth. And when UCF wins, well, they didn't play this guy, they didn't play that guy. Okay, well, LSU didn't play a ton of their guys, and UCF got punished, had to go to the West Coast to play a New Year's Six bowl game, went up against LSU, lost by a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, so one possession, and they're like, well, LSU didn't play their starters. Well, UCF didn't play a bunch of their starters either, so shut your mouth.
Right.
And, I mean, at the end of the day, you play who you play, and I don't want to hear, well, this happened. Okay, so how about this? Colgate beat Syracuse on the basketball court, but Carmelo Anthony wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Jerry McNamara wasn't out there. Billy Owens wasn't at the game. Derek Coleman wasn't available to suit up. Like, I mean, what are we talking about? You play the team that you play. Ohio State is given a spot, and if they give up that spot, the spot is held for the Big Ten. That's reality. Notre Dame they beg Notre Dame to get one loss or go undefeated so that they can leave them and they could just put them in.
Right.
Notre Dame and the Big Ten have an unfair advantage. The SEC has earned it. Clemson has earned it. There's other teams in the ACC that have vied to earn it. The Cincinnatis and the UCFs inside of the American have earned it. And if you ask me how Dan can you prove that they've earned it? Well, when the Big 12 lost their top 2 teams, they went to the American Athletic Conference to save their conference. So if you're going to get Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF to save face, stay alive, and be relevant, then you're telling me that they're relevant, because you don't fight to be relevant with teams that are irrelevant to define relevancy.
Right.
So if you dogged the American and said Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston are trash, and you're the same person that was on Twitter losing your freaking mind when they brought him in saying, oh my God, look at all the talent we're getting. I want to go back to your tweet like you go back to other people's. I want to go back to your Facebook post and your Instagram and your TikTok when you were making fun of Cincinnati because now you love Cincinnati. And I would venture to say there's a lot of people out there, maybe half the people out there, celebrating for the Big 12 were the same people that were laughing at the American Athletic Conference. So teams every year start at 0-0. They need to be given the opportunity at the college football playoff. Hence why it's going to 12. Hence why they're taking the 6 conference champions of 6 different conferences of the 10, which is more than half, and 6 at-large bids. And that could end, and I wrote it down here. I said this year, arguably, we could be looking at Georgia. If we took the top 6, Georgia would represent the SEC, Ohio State the Big 10, TCU the Big 12, Oregon the Pac-12, Clemson the ACC, and at this point in the American, UCF. And then your at-large would arguably be Tennessee, LSU, Alabama, Michigan, USC, Ole Miss. So you would be taking, of your 6 at-large, 4 of them would come from the SEC, 1 of them would come from the Pac-12, and then they'd sneak another Big 10 team in there. And that's fine, because the SEC earned it. The SEC, if they had 12 right now, could arguably knock everybody out and play each other. And nobody could complain about that because it's the best talent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, in their great years a few years ago, UCF can hang. Cincinnati, the last couple years, not this year necessarily, they can hang, but I still wouldn't want to play them this year. I think SMU can hang. Why is Sonny Dykes at TCU right now? So when you look at these teams and you look at what the college football playoff can be, I would rather play Ohio State, Oregon, and Michigan than put myself in a situation to play Ole Miss if Ole Miss was spot 12. I still wouldn't want to play them.
Yeah, dangerous team, still dangerous. But no, I like that breakdown, what you did for the future, because, I mean, I was always in favor of that. You know, I always thought it's too much politics with it. The way it's set up, like you said, we got a spot reserved for a conference now. But in the future, when we get the opportunity to see the 12-game format, you know, or 12-team format, you know, I definitely going to enjoy seeing how that shakes out, you know, because, you know, there's a lot of good teams out there that's beyond 4, you know. I mean, 4 to me, 4 always was a tough number. I mean, I understood kind of why they did 4. It was almost as worse as the BCS was. It was just the top 2. Exactly. So, you know, it's a little unfair that
when the top 2 is rigged and the top 4 becomes rigged, it doesn't make it any different because rigged is rigged.
Right, exactly. So, to me, if I'm a team and I'm gonna go out and my goal is to win my conference, it shouldn't just be okay. You know, does somebody think my conference is deserving of a slot? If we're gonna talk playoffs, then let everybody get a shot at the title. You know what I'm saying? If we're gonna go out here and play the 12-game schedule, whatever it may be, and be successful, win 12 or 11-1, you know, you should have a right to play somebody and line up from across an opponent. You never know what's going to happen. Look at Tennessee this year. You know what I'm saying? Who had Tennessee being what Tennessee is this year?
Yeah.
You know, we've seen the potential leading into the year, but, you know, nobody thought Tennessee was going to take Alabama down.
No.
You know,
nobody thought Texas A&M was going to be 1-6 in the conference. It was
right.
3-7 and not even go to a bowl game a year after they beat Alabama.
Right. So I mean, every year is a different year. No team is going to be exactly the same year in and year out. But that's what I enjoy about the game of college football. You know, you always got that potential of somebody rising up and making a name for themselves that year. It's not. I like the amateur part to it, the sports.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, I just enjoy watching players develop. Something we were just talking about. Players come out here and develop. You see the potential in them, and then you never know. Some days they may come out and surprise you. But then again, when you recruit and you develop players and sustain a program, then you should be rewarded for your efforts.
Yeah, I mean, the question comes down to this. Would you rather play an Alabama team this year in the college football playoff with 2 losses at the time we're talking, having played and defeated at Texas, defeated Arkansas at Arkansas when they were ranked by double digits, won a game played a shootout against Tennessee on the road, beat Mississippi State, who was ranked, lost 32-31 to LSU, and defeated Ole Miss? Would you rather play that team that battle tested? You're already laughing because you know where I'm going. Or would you rather play Ohio State in the college football playoff? And this is Ohio State's schedule. And folks, I did not change this schedule. I did not adjust the schedule. I did not cut and paste this schedule to look like anything else. This is their actual schedule. Let me give it to you. Okay? Mind you, they play 8 home games. Most teams play 6 or 7.
Yeah.
They play 8 home games. So they played Notre Dame when Notre Dame was ranked. Notre Dame just got back into the rankings. They played unranked Arkansas State, unranked Toledo, unranked Wisconsin, unranked Rutgers, unranked at Michigan State, unranked Iowa, ranked but way too high at Penn State, unranked Northwestern on the road, unranked Indiana, will play unranked Maryland this week, and then plays Michigan, and they say these are the two of the top 3 teams in the nation. And this is based on playing unranked, most at home, and then playing Penn State, ranked in the conference too high, in my opinion, and Notre Dame, that was ranked 5 in the nation when they started off the season. So would you rather play a team? And the thing is, you mess with the American and the Sun Belt because you say they don't play any ranked teams. I'm sorry. En route to 10-0, Ohio State played 8 of the 10 teams unranked. And then Notre Dame fell out of the rankings, just got back in. And Penn State, why are they high if we go to look at their schedule? So the reality of it all is, how do you say that Ohio State's a top 25, top 15, top 10, let alone top 2 ranked team in the nation, when you tell me that UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, SMU, Navy, Memphis, of all these years the Americans been around for almost a decade, and you say, well, they didn't play any ranked teams. Well, they didn't play any ranked teams.
Exactly.
And then you look at Alabama with 2 losses, and half, if not more than half of their schedule is against ranked teams. And you say, well, Dan, who did they? Look at the SEC compared to the Big Ten. You can't sit here and tell me that playing Wisconsin, Rutgers, Michigan State, Iowa, Northwestern, Indiana, and Maryland is battle-tested. And that's all in your conference. I didn't name any of your BS non-conference games. Your Arkansas States and your Toledos. You know, I mean, I would rather play Ohio State a million times this year than play Alabama once.
True that.
And Alabama's got 2 losses.
Yeah, I mean, that schedule tells it all right there. I mean, nothing much to show for it other than some teams that have been, like you would say, ranked higher than what they probably should be for considering who they're playing at the time. So, I mean, I would definitely love to play Ohio State. If I was the first playoff game, give me Ohio State.
Yeah. And mind you, folks, Ohio State hasn't made that many college football playoffs. And the first time they made it, they got blown out by Clemson. So those of you that want to sit here and go, well, they beat Clemson recently, they should have never even been in because they didn't play enough games. They started in the middle of the season, didn't play enough games to even play in their Big Ten championship. They changed the rules during the season to let them in. Then they changed the rules to allow everything for the Ohio State players to get healthy during COVID. So they made sure that the schedule of their college football playoff game allowed all the players to come back. So if you change the rules for a team twice and you put them 6 weeks into the season at 0-0 in the top 10, you've already shown us your cards, and there's nothing that can be said to me that 2020, that season, didn't out. They showed you 6 weeks in ranked. They rose you in the rankings. They put you in the top 8. They found a way to get you into your Big Ten championship, and then they waited for you to be ready to play the college football playoff. 2020 in and of itself was a season that showed you all of the egregious extra special treatment that Ohio State and the Big Ten gets. And if you didn't believe it up until 2020, well, COVID didn't just expose us to a lot of ridiculous flu-like symptoms. They exposed us to the Big Ten special treatment.
Yeah, the truth came out, like you said. Again, exactly. A clown show.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll come back with our predictions for Syracuse at Wake Forest right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us inside of the Cafe Kubal studios every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and in these Tortora and Alford special pieces as well. This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York. Coming to you fall 2022.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, salsa Cuse, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jim Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in their community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. This special Tortora and Alford coming to you as we talk inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Saline Street, all in Syracuse, New York. Inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-through location in North Syracuse. So make sure you head out there today to any one of your Cafe Kubal locations. Warm yourself up. Fill your thermos up, and if you're like me, you ask for a chai, maybe two, and you just pop them all in here, right? And I got vanilla, I think in the last one I got vanilla and cocoa put into the chai. So it's like a hot chocolate chai with a little bit of vanilla. Tasted very, very good. And yeah, I feel like my thermos, this is what I bring into Cafe Kubal and say, hey, how much does it cost to fill this thing up? So, make sure we do that, especially because it's going to be chilly. I'm going to have to go over to Cafe Kubal and get this going into the high school football playoff games this week because I got spoiled. It was like 64 degrees the last playoff game I went to, and now it's going to be 28
football
this
weather.
Crazy. Yeah.
Football playoff weather.
That weather where you're like, I'm happy I'm out here. I don't want to die. So that's kind of where we're at. But excited to do it and excited to be out there, excited to support the teams. Keeping with the football sense of things, talking about Syracuse at Wake Forest, we spoke about the ACC as a whole and a greater look at college football. And now it's our opportunity to bring this whole thing full circle and get back to Syracuse at Wake Forest. Isaac Alford. I was thinking Wake. I was thinking you. I was coming back to me. Isaac Alford, myself, Dan Tortora. And happy to be here with you. I just made you a biblical person.
Hey, Isaac, Isaiah, we all in there.
Isaiah and Don Juan, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at today. So, but yeah, happy to be here. Isaac Alford, myself, Dan Tortora, hanging out where sports meets that thing called life. And now Isaac has a pass to call me whatever he wants between now and the end of the show. This is my party foul. I'm sorry. So here we are with Syracuse at Wake. Your thoughts ultimately on the game?
It's going to be a tough game for our defense to, like I say, even though I might be anticipating our defense to go against the air attack, but I just think, Wake Forest is just too potent offensively. They execute really, really well under Dave Clawson. So it's definitely going to be a high-scoring game on their side of the ball.
Yeah.
Now, if the defense, our defense is no pushover. I will give those guys that. But if they're not given the opportunity to take a breath and let the offense at least put some points on the board for them, then it's going to be again one of those long days where you say, "Hey, why are we doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but definitely, I think Wake Forest. I wouldn't be surprised they put 40 points up on the board when it's all said and done. You know, it just matter whether the Syracuse offense shows up. Now, if the Syracuse offense shows up,
yeah,
and the defense can do something, hopefully we can keep it interesting going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you know, and in the words of T'Challa in the Saturday Night Live skit, I think you're finally getting it. So, a team that put up 40 plus in back-to-back games against Army and Boston College, allowing under 20 in their last 3 games following those 2 games, have allowed 30 plus and have failed to match the amount of points they allow, losing to Louisville 48-21, NC State 30-21, and a shootout with North Carolina 36-31, although they did come back and make it a game. So Wake Forest started the season ranked in the nation's top 25. They got up to the top 10. They fell from 10 down into the 20s, and then they fell out of the top 25. They have the same record as Syracuse at 6-4 this season in the Atlantic Division. They beat VMI and at Vanderbilt, Liberty as well in a shootout 37-36. They lost in a shootout in overtime against Clemson 51-45 at home in Winston-Salem. They defeated Florida State on the road in Tallahassee 31-21 quality win there. Defeated Army 45-10, who's unranked. Boston College unranked 43-15. And then lost, as I said, at Louisville, at NC State, home against North Carolina. They're home against Syracuse, and then they'll play at Duke to end the regular season. The thing about Wake, yeah, they're reeling, but Isaac, to me, like I said, is seeing it. And you said, wouldn't be surprised they put up 40 points. Wake is capable. Sam Hartman is capable. This team overall is. Sam Hartman goes into the game, 2,743 yards passing, 62.2% completion percentage, 28 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. He's been sacked 25 times over 10 games, which averages 2.5 times a game. Justice Ellison doesn't have a ton of yards, 534 on 124 carries, 4.3 yards carry, 4 rushing touchdowns. Christian Turner, who shared time with him with 105 carries, 423 yards, 4 yards a carry, and 7 rushing touchdowns. Quentin Cooley has 165 yards, 4.7 yards a carry, and 2 touchdowns. Sam Hartman has 1 rushing touchdown, which gives them 14 total. A.T. Perry, through the air, has 774 yards receiving, 52 catches, 7 touchdowns. Donovan Green has 32 catches, 568 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And then we see Jamal Banks with 499 yards, 8 touchdowns that he has catching. And Taylor Morin has 393 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. Blake Whiteheart, their tight end, who they use under Dave Clawson over history, 214 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then a bunch of guys with 1 touchdown. So you got a bunch of guys that look like Aronde Gadsden. Aronde Gadsden with multiple touchdowns. You look at this team, 7, 5, 8, and 6 receiving touchdowns. Sam Hartman not only spreading the ball out, but spreading it out multiple times. They got too many scorers in the rushing attack, too many scorers in the passing attack, and too good of a quarterback in Sam Hartman. I have Wake Forest winning this game, and I don't know why this number keeps coming back to me, but I got this one again like I did the last one with Syracuse's score. I got 40-13 Wake Forest.
Yeah, but
not 42-13.
Yeah.
Let me say 42-13.
Yeah, I was thinking more like 45, maybe 17 or something like that.
Well, I was going to go higher than me on this one. So.
Yeah, I mean, but it's scary to say that because what we see with how anemic the Syracuse offense have been. So
yeah,
maybe Wake is not as strong defensively. You know, that's why they're in some shootouts.
Because you thought that when I gave Syracuse 13 against Florida State, I didn't give them enough. And well, no, we both gave them 13. You thought that I gave you thought I took more away from the defense.
Right.
And ultimately, I had them losing by 42, and like I said earlier, they lost by 35.
Right.
And that was me thinking with starters, so.
Yeah. And I mean, if they left starters, then it probably definitely would have been there. I mean, But you know, I mean, I always, like I said, I hang our hat on our defense. If as you were just going down, you know, it's interesting that both teams are on a losing streak here coming into the game
with the same record. Yeah.
You know, and you know, seemed like the defensive teams that Wake Forest played, they kind of struggled with a little bit, and then the teams that doesn't really have a defense, Wake Forest and stuff. So,
well, let me play it to you like this: Syracuse, with Dino seemingly going through the motions, not looking at the fact that there was a lot of implications of this last game.
Mm-hmm.
Syracuse has been number 2 only to Clemson in the Atlantic Division for most of the season, and by losing to Florida State jumped them. So Syracuse loses their 2nd spot in the Atlantic to their 3rd spot. Think about the bowl games, folks. So now Syracuse is 3rd, and this is how crazy it is. They hold the tiebreaker over NC State, which is why they're 3rd and NC State's 4th, despite NC State being in the top 25. They're both 3-3 in the conference, and Syracuse winning over NC State gives them the slight advantage. But here's the crazy twist. Wake Forest is 6th out of 7 teams in the standings in the ACC Atlantic Division. If Wake beats Syracuse, they'll both be 3-4, and Wake will go from 6th and jump Syracuse, having the tiebreaker. So they will actually leapfrog Syracuse, and then if NC State is to win, they'll leapfrog them both. And Syracuse, after this weekend, and after last weekend, can go from being 2 up to last weekend before they lost to Florida State. They can go from 2 in the Atlantic and drop in this thing at least to 4, if not to 5 or 6. Syracuse could literally fall to the bottom of the Atlantic Division and be above Boston College just by losing to Wake Forest.
Yeah, that's how close it is in the Atlantic Division. Like you said, we're down on the stretch where every game matters. Every game's going to predict where you're going to be lined up in the bowl.
Yeah.
Slot to get picked to go wherever you're going to go, whether it's sunny Florida or a baseball stadium in the Northeast somewhere. So, you know, these last 2 games are very important for the standings of the Atlantic side. You know, like you said, we already got the tiebreaker over NC State, and you know, just can't afford to lose a game like this one here. And unfortunately, you know, they're in the position they're in, but you know what, it's not going to get any easier.
You look at it like this: with Louisville playing NC State, whoever wins that game is going to have 4 wins in the conference. And if Syracuse loses, that team, Louisville or NC State, despite Syracuse having the tiebreaker over both, if Syracuse has 3 wins in the conference and either one of these teams is going to come out with a victory, so either NC State's going to be 4-3 or Louisville's going to be 4-4, they will jump Syracuse. So either one of those teams is going to be 3rd if Syracuse loses, and then if Wake beats them, Wake is going to be 4th, so Syracuse will be 5th. Just by losing this week, they will fall to 5th.
Right. And that's how important even to pull out the victory, because nobody really can get you. Keep Wake Forest down with 2-5, and if you were at 4-3, you already took care of both the 2 teams right behind you. So even if you know,
so
if they're tiebreaker, you know, later in the season, you still got the tiebreaker over NC State and Louisville.
Yeah.
So that, again, like you said, this is a game that really determines where you're going to be positioned
for a bowl game.
For a bowl game, exactly.
Because you look at this and, you know, 2 is a lot different than 5. And, you know, you look at Syracuse, and if they were to somehow lose to Boston College, and then you see another team win, then Syracuse could fall and end up 6th when they were picked to be 7th. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but NC State or Louisville, with a Syracuse loss this week to Wake Forest, Wake will jump Syracuse, and NC State or Louisville will jump Syracuse, which means Syracuse will be 5th out of 7 teams after being 2nd in the Atlantic Division. And just a few weeks ago, had a chance, beat themselves in Death Valley more than Clemson beat them. They could have been 1st. So to think that 4 weeks ago, Syracuse could have led the Atlantic and be going to the ACC championship game to now being in 5th place is insane. But that's what a losing streak will do to you.
Right. And if even if they did, say if they would have pulled off that 1 win, they would be 4-2, and still would have been, well, they would have had to still win out to keep Florida State. Say if the records were what it is.
Keep Florida State off. Yeah, because Florida State played their games earlier.
Right.
So Florida State's already done with their conference. Their last 2 games are going to be out of conference.
Right. So, yeah, they still would have been in their position, even by winning that Clemson game,
You had to
control
beat Clemson.
their destiny.
You had to beat Clemson. You had to beat Florida State. You had the tiebreakers over NC State and Louisville. And at that point, if you had beaten Clemson and beaten Florida State and you had 5 wins, then you wouldn't even have to worry about Wake Forest or Boston College at that point as far as them doing anything. But you'd have to keep winning because Clemson's not going to lose more than 1 game in the conference. And Florida State had already lost 3. So Syracuse could arguably have gone into these last couple games with some wiggle room to lose a game and still be in good position above Florida State. But, you know, if it came down to them and Clemson being 7-1 in the conference and they had the tiebreaker over Clemson, then there's your opportunity to defeat them there.
Right.
So you could have given one up. You couldn't give up more than one, either to Wake or Boston College or Florida State. But where Syracuse is at right now, from 1 to, after this week, maybe 5th in the ACC's Atlantic out of 7 teams, is not great. And it's putting them in a situation where you controlled your own destiny and you're nailing your own coffin down.
Yeah, even that crossover game with Pitt, you know, makes a big difference here.
Absolutely. So that's where we're at right now. Isaac and I going with Wake Forest in this game. We'd love to get your thoughts, so send them over and respond to this video on Facebook.com and YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. And make sure you're tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday during our normal scheduled time of 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You'll be here with us on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT. You can also find us on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT and on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage. You can find the MixLR feed embedded. Once the shows go live, you can check us out in the archives by searching us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. You can also just look for us on any search engine, and you can find us on other outlets as well. Big thanks to all of our incredible partners, Cafe Cubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Witty Wicks, Avicoli's Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Honda City of Liverpool, Mother's Cupboard, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Watertown, and Pizza Man. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Under promise, over deliver is what we're all about. And so we bring you AD and DT every first and third Wednesday of each month with Athletics Director Bob Beretta of Lemoyne and myself, Dan Tortora, a.k.a. DT. And every second and fourth Wednesday, we bring you the Dolphin Dive, diving into the stories of student-athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, alumni, and so much more. So you can check all of those out. We've done a lot of Dolphin Dive and AD and DT bonus specials. There's going to be more coming up this week. You can get it all on the Lemoyne tab on WakeUpCallDT.com, including our exclusive series on realignment and reclassification. If you've heard anything about Lemoyne potentially going Division I and it hasn't come from Wake Up Call, it has, and somebody else just put their stamp on it. Kind of like when you buy meat from a grocery store, that they put their label over the label of the meat that they bought it from. It's still the same meat, but they said it's theirs. So you can also get us on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. For more information on Lemoyne, go to their newly redesigned website at LeMoyneDolphins.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. The Bobcat Buzz comes to you every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora with exclusive sit-down specials with their administration, student-athletes, and coaches. Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, those Bobcats coming to you every single month with our Bobcat Buzz specials. You can check all of those out by going to the BSC Syracuse tab on WakeUpCallDT.com. You can also subscribe to YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT and search Bobcat Buzz. For more information on your Bobcats, under promise, over deliver, a ton of specials coming to you for men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, and the inaugural baseball team. All of that can be found on YouTube as well as WakeUpCallDT.com. And for more information on your Bobcats, go to Syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And we are more than proud to welcome our newest partner and our first downtown Syracuse partner. Downtown with Dan. And Downtown with Dan is going to feature myself and owner Joel Carpenter speaking about sports, entertainment, and life in general while eating their amazing menu. And we're going to do some specials with some special people down there. And we have a very special soft open and grand opening of our Downtown with Dan series. You can hear 317 at Montgomery during Wake Up Call Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can go and see them Tuesday through Saturday weekly on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. With that being said, find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, the Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. For now, from the Cafe Cubal studios that are smelling oh so nice thanks to Witty Wicks, this is Isaac Alford and myself, Daniel Tortora, and I appreciate you as always, brother.
Have a good one.
We'll talk with you all soon. Be safe, stay well, and Dino, for the love of goodness, do something at halftime. Don't draw Cookie Monster on the board anymore. Dave Clausen is an extremely intelligent coach. I respect him like crazy, and I respect Dino, and I want to see this game, whatever happens in the first half, for teams to make adjustments. Dave Clausen always makes them. Dino, I want to see these adjustments, open it up, try some things out, and show me what you got. Let's see what Syracuse will do this weekend. For now, for Isaac Alford and myself, Dan Tortora, we bid you adieu from the Cafe Cubal studios. This has been Tortora and Alford, and you are absolutely amazing.